Howdy folks, great to see you. This is your old friend Sheriff Fury back again. Recently I was obliged to have a great chat with an old friend of mine regarding development of a new game coming up on us soon. So grab a seat and let's roll it. We're here with John, who is head honcho and creative director for Red Crucible Phoenix Rising. How are you doing today, John?
Doing fine.
This is a Q&A for the developer. I'm going to ask you a few questions directly from the members of our Discord. And if you're ready, I'm ready to just start shooting down the list.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
So this first one comes from Bellamy. These are going to be in alphabetical order as to who asked them. I think that made it a little easier. First and foremost, when will the game be playable on Steam?
That is going to happen very soon. We actually just finished our final milestone of development that was right before the public beta for the playable version of our game. So we're probably looking at maybe a week or two should go live. We still have to get servers and get everything and get our ducks in order to be able to make sure we cross all our T's and dot all our I's and make sure that the game is ready for public consumption.
Right now it's already a lot of fun. I mean, just doing the closed beta stuff. So I think that you guys probably will be coming out of the gate pretty strong.
Yeah, we hope so.
It'll be good. So next couple are from Dark Side. They're right out of the gate on this one. He just says, will there be a good anti-cheat system?
I have to be honest with everybody. We do have we have a good system in place. I can't go into details. It's kind of we have to keep that close to our vests. But just be assured that we do have a system in place that we're very conscious about being able to provide us a good gameplay experience for our players.
And next one from Dark Side, options to choose personalized vehicles and weapons.
If I understand the correct question, I would say we do plan on having the ability in the future to have players choose decals or national flags for their vehicles. And you'll be able to customize it in that way.
And also, you do have future plans, or even from the get-go, that upgrades to tanks would just be cosmetics, just skins. Is that correct, or is that something you're doing away with?
Pretty much, yeah. So we're very conscious, since as we're designing the game, we don't want to make this a pay-to-win game. We want to make sure that all upgrades in anything you use in the game is basically accessible to everyone, not just people paying money for it. Also want to make sure that the kind of boosts and upgrades that you get are not the kind that cause any sort of friction or issues. So for instance, so we'll have the ability to unlock skins, specific engines, accuracy for guns and stuff like that.
Awesome. These next few are from Flatty on the Discord server. First one, he asks, what kind of in-game currencies are going to be in the game?
Well, the standard currencies, like for instance, in-game earned currencies, sometimes referred to as honors or silver coins. And of course, some players will have the option, if they want to basically purchase items with gold currency.
So are you starting with in-game moderators, and who will they be?
Well, I can tell you for sure that I'll be one of them. And we are going to have to establish a set of rules that are documented where we actually have in-game moderators follow those rules. We don't have them specifically identified who they're going to be. We don't know. But when the game is released, we're at that point going to start looking at getting moderators in the game.
And you have a very good vetting process for these moderators, I believe.
Correct. Yeah, we're in the process of doing that right now.
Awesome. More from Flatty. So will there be loot chests in the game?
That's a really hot question. There's not going to be any loot boxes or loot chests per se. The reason for this is because they've become very toxic in the games industry, and players seem to have a very negative view of them. So it's not so much the chests themselves, it's how they're implemented. So we are going to have chests that players receive for free, or that's our plan, so that you would earn chests as you play, and you get free prizes. So those will be things you earn every match. But as far as having a loot box or a loot chest, I'm going to stray away from that because there's a lot of negativity regarding those. So I think it's probably best we avoid those.
Next from Flatty, is there going to be a test server like in the old Red Crucible 2?
Well, there was no test server for Red Crucible 2. I think what you mean is for Firestorm back in the day. So we are going to have a test server that people will be able to get access to who are invited to get access to the test server. So that, which means we will have our internal beta testers continually, and we'll be testing new features, new content, and things like that before we actually push it to the public branch.
Okay. Last one from Flatty. Are there going to be quote-unquote tier upgrades for tanks?
The plan is yes. I've referred to that as a tech upgrade or a tech tree, where you can actually take vehicles that you've unlocked, and so there's more unlocks within an unlock. So you don't have, it's not going to be required to you do it right away, but it's going to be something you can come back to and maybe unlock a better engine, more accurate gun, certain things like that. But that's still to be determined how we're actually going to do that and implement. It's not in the game yet, but it will be in the future.
Well, and ever since I've been working with you, John, I know that you are hardcore. This game should be separated by the player's skill level, not what tanks they use.
Right. So each tank, which we call units, are going to have their own sets of stats, like what they can and can't do, and that's based on vehicle class. We have 5 classes in the game, and they all have their specific pros and cons. But again, the big factor here is the player's preferred play style and what class they will like to use, and also their skill. It really comes down to skill. 70% of your success should be skill.
Well, what I think is awesome most of this is a personal commentary. I really feel that when you rely more on skill for games, you get more of those moments where you're really just vibing with friends, and you have those, man, I'm going to get you for that, and I think that the experience and playability of a game just skyrockets when it's all skill based. Now, like, dude, I hate your tank.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which is great. So, and I was just thinking about it too. I mentioned like how long I've known you. Just think about it. I've known you for 3 years now.
Yeah, at least 3 years.
It's been about 3, actually.
Yeah.
So, these next bunch, there's a whole bunch from IS2 Jer. So these are a whole bunch. We'll go ahead and slog through them real quick. How many maps are there planning to be? First, initial start, and then what is your outlook for how many maps will there be in the future?
Well, the number of maps, right now we have 2 maps, one fully completed and one about 90% complete. We're already planning for a city map and a desert map. So we're looking at 4 maps. Going forward, we're probably going to do about, we're going to continually be creating maps, obviously. As long as people are playing, we're going to keep making them.
As long as your imagination keeps ticking.
Oh, I've got the imagination part that runs wild. It's just, just as long as people like the game and like to play it, we'll keep making them.
How does the unlock system work? There's a question about that from IS2.
We have the first initial version just now completed. It'll be ready. It's actually ready for the public beta. What it is it's I don't want to go into too much detail, but you can unlock vehicles pretty quick. We don't want to have a grind that, like, some games take a month to unlock a vehicle. I think we're doing much quicker than that.
All right. Also, I think that you kind of have answered this one right here earlier. This is more of a clarification. Are there any purchasable vehicle skins?
I don't think so. I think they're all going to be unlocked in the tech tree. But again, I want to differentiate. Some people have asked about, I don't know if anybody's going to ask about this, but I'll address it now. Premium vehicles versus free vehicles, the unlocks. Technically, there's not much difference. No difference, actually. The only difference is the skins specifically. You can unlock. You can actually have access to it in the unlock tech tree. Or if you purchase a premium vehicle, it comes with it.
This one's like really important. A lot of people will be curious about this because there'll be discussion about Advantage. Will there be features different to PC, mobile, and console?
That's a very good question. As everyone probably is aware, that mobile games are played a little bit differently than PC games, and obviously the same thing goes for other platforms. So right now we're right now testing the mobile version as I'm speaking, and we're already noticing that the input, how you actually interface with the game on a device, has a big factor in that. So we don't know. So we're probably going to keep the accounts the same, but the gameplay might be segregated between mobile and PC players. But we're not sure at this point. We're still testing this.
Kind of a two-parter for that one. Will adverts be used for in-game rewards for mobile only?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the mobile games, that's kind of a standard, and that's kind of a premium for players. And so, what I'm looking at doing is having it in the game where it's an option. You're not forced to use it, but it's on a separate screen where you can go and, let's say, watch videos and earn in-game currency. What we call soft currency. You earn that to help you acquire things or buy things.
With that, upcoming game modes such as 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, and 4 versus 4, are those planned for the game?
We do have a plan to do a lot of different types of game modes, a lot of interesting things that you have not seen in games like this before, and that's one of the challenges that we have coming up with ideas, which we will include the community in, and some exciting stuff. We're talking like Easter egg hunts and things like that don't exist in other games like this. But again, we will have standard modes, pretty much like all other games have as well.
Does tank soccer sound too crazy to do? Tank soccer?
Actually, to tell you the truth, we actually experimented with that. We did a little side project, but my concern is, my concern always with any game mode is, what are players going to like? So a lot of this stuff might be done, if we do, it would be on our test server, as we spoke before, where we kind of test some of these things out to see if it's viable or not.
Got you. Now, he's also asking a question about, this question is asked quite a bit, actually, throughout the Discord. I've noticed a few people have asked this. But on low population servers, will there be auto population or auto spawning for bots, under a certain amount of players in a server?
I think eventually there will be. I'd like to see it. But I think for now, we're just going to do multiplayer. Just because we have such limited resources and time to get as much as we can done. So we don't want to get diverted into like a sideshow at this point. So we're going to focus on the key important elements right now is just get the game done, get it playable, and then we'll see, gauge the community and see kind of what they want.
The other question in hand with that was they were also asking if there's any idea for bots being used in offline practice in private servers.
Yeah, again, that's one of those things where that sounds cool, and I'd like to see that, but eventually, possibly, I'd like to see it. So, it's possible that it might show up, but again, we just want to keep a very close, kind of our ear to the ground, just to see what the players' community wants.
The sky's the limit. We'll figure it out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Tutorials. That question is more from me, John. If you don't mind, I'll take that one.
Sure.
On the Sheriff Fury website, our YouTube channel, I will be producing starting this week and after launch. I'll be start scripting for tutorials, and after launch, I will be in game. I will be playing with other people to create some content for tutorial videos. So those will be there. Look on the horizon for those. I have no problem even taking suggestions for what anybody might have, ideas of what they want to see as a tutorial. You can shoot me a DM. You can just put it in the suggestion box and tag me in the Massive Head game server, Discord server. I'll handle that one, no problem. Next question, IS2. Just two more from IS2. Will blue have advantages over red or vice versa, depending on spawn, e.g., or example, given the height of where they spawn in the map?
First of all, blue versus red, we actually have the ability to put in 4 different teams in one match. That's an option we have in the tech. The second thing is we don't want to create any sort of disadvantage for anyone in the match, not with their spawns. There's going to be points in the game where you have high ground, but that's going to be available for any player from any team. So most of the games, well, all of the games we create are all going to be, the map designs, I should say, are going to be pretty evenly kind of designed so that it's your skill level that makes you win or lose. It's not about like how you spawn. So I would say there isn't going to be an advantage for one team or the other.
So are you basically saying that maps will be designed on the onset, that they're kind of like a chessboard and people are sitting across from each other with even sidings?
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. So it's just a matter of what pieces they choose to use on that board. The last one from IS2: How do you apply for a moderator or a contributor of any kind to the game?
Well, we will, like I mentioned, possibly mentioned, before, is we're working on a game moderator application form. We want to make sure that we get the right people in there with the right motives, who want to really see the community benefit, from the game. Yeah, as far as contributors, there's a whole separate plan for having streamers and YouTubers be part of the game on a much closer level. But that's something we'll talk about a little bit later, when we get more down.
There's a much bigger question too later on down the list, so we'll keep those horses in the gate for now. We'll get down there in a minute. Jesse James asks a really simple, straightforward question: what about boats?
Yeah, boats sounds exciting, and I think would be very cool to have. Again, I have to go back to the point is we're a pretty small team, and we had a huge task ahead of us. And I want to make sure we focus on the critical items that are before us, such as land and air-based combat gameplay. Also, if you introduce boats, that poses some design challenges that we haven't yet gone over to figure it out exactly. But I would say it's a possibility in the future to some extent.
John Walker is asking, will you be adding purchasing coins, gems option to the game maybe in the future? I think we discussed that a little bit, but I think this gives you an opportunity to maybe lay out a timeline and implementation for that.
Okay, so as far as I know what you're asking, I think about the gems. A lot of games use like multiple in-game currency. There's the silver coins, there's honors, there's gems, and
gold coins,
there's a myriad of things.
Yeah.
So that usually has a whole separate team in the company that implements that, and we don't have that. So we're sticking to just basic in-game currency, which is your silver coins and optional gold coins. For now, that's all we're doing. So I don't see us putting in gems. Plus, I think when you look at gems, that more alludes to a fantasy game. We're not that type of game. So I know that there's tank games that use gems out there. I'm not saying it's wrong or right. It just is. It is what it is. So I don't see us using gems per se, or at least that terminology. But we are going to have multiple ways for players to get things in the game, without paying hard currency for it.
It'll probably be simplified and unique to Red Crucible Phoenix Rising.
Right.
So shout out to Server Booster Magic Mike. I think this is a kind of a fun question to ask. You and I chatted about this a little bit ago. Will the Rocket Cam be available?
Oh, that's a good question. The Rocket Cam was really fun to use in the old Red Crucible. I have to say, but it did piss off a lot of players. So again, we're very keen on creating a game that doesn't alienate anyone, and it doesn't piss off people unduly. So we'll have to think about that. If we use it, how we use it, we have to very carefully think about how these game design mechanics are implemented so that they're done correctly without harming the game.
This one's from Mercy. This one I think is more of like an active developmental one that can be answered over time. I'm not sure what system you guys have in place for this yet, but he would like to know, or she, will the game have active balancing, like buffing underperforming vehicles, weapons, and nerfing problematic ones?
Well, that's a good question as well. So the first way we're going to address this is that we're not going to have a power curve on vehicles. Again, it's about 70% player, skill. That's really what give players success. So as far as nerfing vehicles, if we don't create overpowered vehicles or OP vehicles, then there's no need to nerf them. So that's, I guess, the first way we're approaching this is just making sure that we don't do any OP vehicles, specifically. That's why we're doing the 5 vehicle classes. It's kind of a rock, paper, scissors approach where we have, each class has its pros and cons, and then you pick and choose which one you want to play. Now, there is going to be issues where we're going to fine tune some of the stats, but that's our plan is to do this in, beta and early access.
Yeah, you were talking about this like range, level of armor. I think yesterday when we were chatting about it, no, not yesterday, we were talking about it Friday when you said that one of the missile trucks, you'd probably have to reduce the amount of rockets that it fires, and then maybe raise its armor level and do the same thing. So it's all a balance. Everything's all a balance in this game.
Correct, right.
Our new friend Metro YT had a question. This one's kind of a loaded one, I believe. Will there be any special perks for content creators that partner with the game? If so, what would they be, and would they have content chat they could put in videos?
We have a very exciting plan specifically for content creators, for such as YouTube streamers, shoutcasters, social media people. If you have a social media presence or channel, we're going to want to probably talk to you. So I don't want to get into it now, but that's something that we kind of pioneered in Red Crucible Able Archer. Unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to actually fully implement that, but that's something we want to carry over to this game. And there's a huge upside for everybody involved in this. So, but we'll get into that. That information will be disclosed more in detail in the future.
Let's do it. Pachamama asks, Few from Pachamama. I love that name, by the way. It's fun to say. Can you play tanks and infantry on a single map as well as A7 or Sandstorm?
I think the question is being a little confused with the original Red Crucible in this game. So again, in this game, we're releasing first the vehicle gameplay, and that's what we're focused on right now. The question then asks about infantry. So I would love to see infantry in this game. But again, we have to focus on our priorities right now, and that is vehicle gameplay. And so we'll wait and see what players want, and then how we approach that's to be determined.
Next one, I don't think I've seen it yet in the testing that we've been doing. Will we have a traditional third and first person view on guns and tanks?
Well, right now we have what I call a commander's view of the tank, which is kind of right above the barrel, and then there's a third person view. Now, we could put a first person view where you're looking through a periscope or something, but I find those personally kind of restrictive. You don't have any peripheral vision with those views. So we'll see. We'll listen to the players and see what the players want. I mean, we could go either way, but for right now, it's a commander's view, which basically is the commander sticks his or her head out of the hatch, and it just basically looks down the gun tube.
So so implementation in other titles actually have specific game servers where it's only through that view. So there's no third person. So I don't know if that would be like a hard mode.
Yeah. Also, let me answer this question. I don't know if there's a question out that's been asked, but the question is: there's two kinds of games out there for tanks. There's a simulator called a military simulator,
yep.
And that's not us. We're not a simulator. We're not trying to recreate reality here. We're more of an arcade game, and so as being an arcade game, we're fast-paced, high action, and fun. That's really what I'm looking at. It kind of describe our game. So keep that in mind when you're wondering or thinking, are we going to have what kind of views? So right now it's based on arcade and fun factor, and so we're kind of sticking along those lines for now.
I think that kind of goes in hand with like the comic booky feel.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think that goes hand in hand very well. And I think I know how you're going to answer this next question from Pachamama. I still like saying that name. Will there be competitive modality in clans?
You mean such as clan versus clan, clan versus
I
everybody?
believe that's what he's asking.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, definitely. We're not there yet with we don't have the friends list implemented yet, but that's something I definitely want to see.
On the horizon. I think we've already asked this one, Pachamama, about real money. Unless John, you want to give a stab at it. What things could you buy with real money, or do you feel like we've already answered that one?
Well, I can kind of reiterate is I don't want to put a paywall in the game. There's nothing in the game that you can't get with in-game currency that you can with real currency. It just using real currency has to be more of a convenience where you can get things quicker. But the thing is, everything you can get with real currency, you can get with in-game currency.
Awesome. So, okay, yeah, we did get a good answer to that one. Last one from Pachamama. Will there be balances between levels and number of participants per team?
Well, I see that as a necessity because we don't want to stack teams. We don't want to have one team have 15 players and the other team has 2. So I see that we're going to have some kind of balancing system in the game.
So that leads to a question that I have when I was thinking about this earlier. If you join a match with a friend and the two of you overstack a team, does it break you and your friend up, or do you get to stay with your friend?
Oh, that's to be determined because again, that kind of falls in the purview of the balancing system.
Gotcha. Don't want to break it yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Shockwave asks, do we have a base camp?
I see a base camp be pretty cool because you can be able to test vehicles that are in the unlock tree that you haven't gotten to yet, or even test premium vehicles. So I think a base camp would be fun. We had a great time making it for our Crucible too. I like that a lot. So players loved it too. So I don't see why not.
Like your own little private gunnery range.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The Rain, which countries will have languages in the game?
Well, right now, I'm thinking kind of out of the box on this one. We might, because we have tanks from different vehicles from different countries in the game, different nationalities, and we're going to have flags, in-game flags, where a player can choose to represent their country in the game or pick whatever they want. And I think right now we have English as the in-game crew voices. But I think having those customized toward the specific vehicles might be a way to do it. So, for instance, if you're in a German tank, all the audio would be in German. Or if you're in an Italian tank, everything would be in Italian, and so forth.
Another question from another Discord user was, will there be collision between enemy vehicles or as they cross each other?
Are we talking about enemy tanks colliding?
Yeah, opposing tanks hitting each other.
Oh, we already have that in the game where you actually inflict damage, collisions. So you can, if I smash your tank and maybe hit you from the side of their torpedo, kind of like a torpedo, it causes damage to your tank.
So if I'm in a T-90 and I smack an LAV.
Yeah, like for instance, the vehicle classes. This goes into the vehicle classes. So for instance, vehicles like tanks have a tremendous hitting power, physical hitting power, because they're heavy and they're very they got a lot of mass. Vehicles such as artillery don't have that mass. They're lighter vehicles. They have certain capabilities and they're lacking. It's that rock paper scissors approach we're using to the game design. So we already have that in the game. You can actually push vehicles around. You can nudge them. You can smash into them, destroy them that way as well. So
I could finally throw my weight around. Hey, that's amazing. Wolfie Canuck has got a bunch of them. This is going to wrap up the rest of these for Wolfie Canuck. Will teams be auto balanced? I think we asked that one a little bit ago. So for auto balancing system, is that something that's going to be? So I'll just reword the question. Will auto balancing be somewhat in effect when the game comes out on Steam?
That is a goal of ours. Yes, we recognize that auto balance is very important to have balanced teams.
Okay. And are there missions to complete for game perks or unlockables?
We do plan on having missions in the game in the future. We just have to get around to implementing it.
Okay. And from the start, the 2 game modes are deathmatch and what again? Because that was the next question. What game modes will there be in game? At the start, right now it's just 2. Do you have more planned?
Of course, we do. And like I said before, we're going to implement all the we're going to try to implement all the standard gameplay modes.
Okay, and are there daily awards to be collected?
We do plan on having daily rewards and weekly rewards for logging in.
Awesome. They kind of just build up over time.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, well, John, that wraps up all the questions that we have up to this point in date. Is there anything you'd like to add for people that might be listening that you might want to just get off your chest? Anything you want to say before we get on to the next Dev Talk in the future?
Well, I mean, I'm eagerly anticipating the public release and eagerly waiting to see what the players are going to want, if they're going to like the game, if they're even going to play it. We're working really hard. I mean, I'm putting in 24/7 on this game right now, and hopefully this all pays off. And the goal is to have a fun experience for players, and hopefully they like the game enough to play it, now and then.
And I can tell you're working hard. Just about every time I've been talking to you recently, you sound beat.
Sleep deprived.
Right? It's like, yeah. I was up doing art all night.
Art, design, and myriad of other things. Yeah.
Right, got you. Well, thanks, John, for your time. And I hope to see all of you on the battlefield. And thank you for being here, listening to the talk. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, John.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for your time and listening to this first Q&A Dev Talk with Red Crucible Phoenix Rising's John. Also, shout out to the rest of the Phoenix Rising team that will no doubt be joining us on our next session. And last but not least, many thanks to our amazing friends, new and old, in our Discord, because without you, there would be no Dev Talk. Keep those questions coming, and if you are watching this video and wish to know more, please join our Discord and definitely check out Red Crucible Phoenix Rising on Steam. Both links below in this video description. Until next time, this has been the voice of Sheriff Fury. Take care.